But this was a story that came out, I think actually last week, where apparently there was an Instagram, I think an Instagram drama channel or drama account that reported that there was an allegation against Drake, that he had an encounter with an Instagram model and that he used protection. Afterwards, he went to the bathroom and he removed that protection, tied it off, threw it away. And then she ran in there right afterwards to try to use that so that she could, I'll leave a little bit of a gap.
Turkey based.
Well, okay, yeah, you could say that. I was just gonna say, present herself in such a way that she could end up getting, filing for a paternity suit from him. Let's just say that.
Now, surely, now, Alita, that doesn't make any sense. Surely a woman would never do such a thing in any way, right?
Surely there's no reason. There's no reason why the NBA put out a memorandum to all of its players on just this fact, literally telling them to dispose of the aforementioned protection after use immediately because of exactly such thing. There's no way it ever happens.
A woman would never violate the fundamental right of a man to choose when to have a child, and a man having made that decision not to have a child, they would never interfere with that fundamental right, Alita, right? For money or monetary reasons, right, Alita?
I can't.
I demand you be accountable for your entire sex, Alita.
I cannot be held accountable for any other woman.
Are you presuming?
I did say the word sex. I said sex.
Okay. Fair.
Yes.
I cannot be held responsible for what any other woman does, no more than either of you can be held responsible for what any other man does, correct?
Well, if you've paid any attention at all, it seems like every day I'm being held accountable for what every other man has or could theoretically do. The entirety of patriarchy, blah, 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 something white supremacy, blah, 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 racism.
I identify as super straight, so I have nothing to do with uncivil bigotry. I mean, literally, as part of the LGBTQA++ community with my super straightness, I don't know what to say about it. However,
you're so LGBTQ, you went round again, and now you're straight.
Fully circled. It is something that literally, I don't know about you guys, but we studied this in estates law. We actually studied. There's a case in estates law. Olivia, you're nodding your head, so you know this one?
I vaguely remember this in law school, but basically, I mean, the courts are not quite sympathetic to a man in that kind of a situation because regardless,
are you saying that family courts are sometimes not fully sympathetic to men, and perhaps there have been even instances where men have been, shall we say, graped, even when they're minors, and then they're still forced to pay paternity payments anyway? Are you saying this is all news to me?
That's shocking information. I never speak about this consistently.
Also, I can't think of any reason people might become misogynist. It's flowing. I can't think of any correlation at all. Why might there be some misogyny from these things that I'm just learning about now for the first time?
So for if anyone can't read through that sarcasm, under the law, typically in most jurisdictions, if not all jurisdictions, where there's a situation like that, where the man did everything that he could to try to prevent it, to try to prevent a pregnancy from happening, if the woman actually goes and tries to circumvent his efforts to prevent that from happening, and then she tries to target him for that purpose, courts are not going to care. That the man is still going to be held responsible for upbringing for that child, at least financially speaking. So I don't disagree. It's not exactly fair. It's not. But that's just the way that the law has kind of shook out. And I think that the reason for that is because the courts are looking at from the perspective of the care of the child, really, from the child's perspective, rather than from either
though it violates the fundamental autonomy of the man who we don't care about.
Well, to be fair though, this law hasn't changed since. I mean, the law regarding this whole sort of.
I don't want to be fair though. I want to be law.
I know. Look, I'll give you a hatefulness, okay? This whole area of law hasn't been touched in almost over 100 years. There's been no fundamental change in the way this law's worked, despite the fact that we've had a fundamental change in how relationships work. Ladies were not looking inside of protection, back in the 1920s and, trying to sperm jack Charlie Chaplin. That is not something we saw happening at all, ever.
At least it wasn't reported feasible. Anyway.
Yeah, and it also wasn't technologically feasible. Now it's feasible. So, I think there needs to be enough.
Her complaint, so let me just make sure I got this 100% correct. Her complaint is, I tried to turkey baste myself, and it turns out he put hot sauce in it, and it irritates me, and I want to sue for the negligence, and I'm supposed to in any way care about her? Is that what's going on?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Well, let me show you the total amount of fucks I give with this picture of this barren field over here.
Tell us, Kurt.
Also, is there any way I can put her? Is there any way I can put her in jail for some sort of fraud or something? Like, how can I make? How about theft? It was no, I guess it was disposed of.
No, because that's the whole point is that the whole point is once you shoot, your property rights are gone. You have zero.
I have property rights in the condom though.
Not when you abandon it.
But did I though? It was in the trash to be collected.
It tossed in the trash. Yeah.
Well, but here's
so you should always flush it. Is basically what we're told, even though it says not to do that on the wrapper.
That's what the NBA says. Just dispose of it immediately.
Yeah, but legally speaking, I mean, I'm actually looking at this from two possible claims, right? There's negligence, and there's also, I would think that, not to say that this would be viable, but you could have an analysis for an intentional tort as well, because there could be the argument of like, well, he's intending this to be kind of a
the fact that there's even some hypothetical world where she could possibly theoretically recover, as you might be able to determine from my attitude, is not pleasing me.
So wait, hold on. No, you're saying, Alita, you're saying intentional infliction of emotional distress. So that's like pretty much saying it's like a trap, like it's like some sort of Home Alone style sexual trap.
In a way, in assault, pretty much, because not intentional infliction of emotional distress, but remember in law school when we all took property, and there was there was probably a point where you guys went over defense of property, right? Like what you can and can't do to defend property. So having a spring-loaded gun guarding your property against trespassers is not something that you're allowed to do. So
however,
you can have an analysis that's along those lines in this case, where the spring-loaded gun is the hot sauce that's there to protect the property. So
last time I checked, Alita, and look, I understand there's a delicate pH balance. We're not going there, but last time I checked, the hot sauce is not going to be lethal to the plumbing. I mean, it's not going to cause, if that is lethal, if that causes some sort of lethal effect, that's on you, girl. That's not on the Tabasco, right? I mean, and also maybe you have a claim against Tabasco. I don't know about Drake. Like what are they putting in there? So some off-label stuff?
It's a products liability case.
There we go. Now we're
I was injured by trying to put his used remnants inside of me against his will. This is the kind of thing that leads to claims by people against me that I am misogynist, when I'm just like, this is so broken. And it's so wrong, and it makes it so.
MGTOW Kurt.
I tell you what, man. Tell me. Yeah, this is where my perception, people perceive me one way, and I'm like, I don't know if it's that true. It's like, why can't I just get righteously angry at her and be like, I want to burn it all down? Why is that not a fair reaction to it?
Because you're a bigot for doing that, Kurt. Come on, you're not.
Alita, am I wrong for saying burn it all down? She deserves to suffer in every way that I can't even begin to contemplate.
No,
I mean, emotionally, I understand. I understand the what's behind that that kind of a reaction. But I mean, that's just not where the law is, unfortunately, for your case.
Yeah. And it's going to take a point at which we understand that in a lot of ways. When we see these kind of rows and these blowouts and how we have these frictions between the genders and tensions in dating and marriage and all this is part of it. The law is part of it, whether or not we like it or not. And at some point, we're going to have to update these things if we want to, make relations amenable between the genders.
I may not be the right lawyer for her, I think, is the conclusion I think we've reached at this point. It may not be the case for me. Maybe
That's
Drake
probably accurate.
Drake could give me a call, but I'm not so sure about her.